No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good afternoon, Winnipeg. Good afternoon, Manitoba. And for all of those joining us live somewhere on the interweb, good afternoon to you. And welcome to the final Illegal Curve post-game show of the 23-24 season. The calendar year ends today. But as you notice, Dave Manouk is here. I've been here all weekend. But that is not Ezra Ginsburg. That is not Drew Mandel. That is Connor Harapchak of Winnipeg Sports Talk, repping the Winnipeg Sports Talk brand on his hoodie. Connor is, we took Connor, we took Jim Toth out of IR, and we forced him to get healthy enough to compete. We're taking you off of IR, and we're putting you in the bullpen. So how you feeling? Welcome to your debut here on Illegal Curve.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. Feeling good. A lot of people might have seen that yesterday I wasn't at the game. I was pretty sick with the flu. But like you said, I was activated off of IR today and good to go, ready to talk about this huge win.
Well, as folks might know, I've got a soft spot for anything Moose related. Connor and I spent many a night together when he was getting his feet wet in the Winnipeg media industry at Moose games. Now he's gone big time. We see him at Jets games. We will not see him in 20 minutes. As you know, folks know, I'm going to be late for the final Moose game of the season. They're taking on the Texas Stars in 20 minutes time at Canada Life. There will be fireworks. I'm hoping to be down there for the second period, but it's already a pumped chat, Connor. There's a lot of folks here, so I'm not going to leave anybody early. I'll try and do double duty as best I can, doing dual loyalty, Jets and Moose, because we have to provide coverage for both. So we'll try and get some Moose coverage, but that's going to be later. Today, it's all about the Jets talk, because the Jets went into Minnesota, and they continued their December to remember. They keep it rolling along. It didn't. It started off interesting, of course, which we'll get into in a second. And then the Jets were able to pick up a win courtesy of the Minnesota man, Dominic Toninato, and the play of Laurent Brossoit. Lots to talk about in this game. Maybe just give us your initial thoughts on the hockey game this afternoon that took place in St. Paul.
I mean, you said it right there. They got the win because of Dominic Toninato and Laurent Brossoit. I mean, we've talked all year about this team's depth and their depth up front, their organizational depth on the back end. And then their backup goaltender, who's now 3-1 in the month of December. And the one game he lost was a 2-1 loss to the Sharks. I mean, Brossoit is having a great year. Dominic Toninato chips in. Vladislav Nemestikov, the power play, finally scored in a big moment. This was a fast, physical game, but the Jets' depth came through and got them the win.
Yeah, it's funny, though, because I had just previously, I'd said the Jets man, and then I wrote advantage in quotes. And then Vlad Nemestikov, clearly reading our tweets there, Connor, on the bench, seconds later, doesn't even take a second. And, that's one of the things they talked about, right? Shooting quicker and getting those shots off. And that's exactly what he did, catching Marc-Andre Fleury. And it was a rocket of a shot by Vlad Nemestikov. And that had to, it's one of the things I noticed, I looked at the game previously and I tweeted this, was the depth. Because we've talked about the depth, needing depth scoring. And the first line, which we've talked about, and their possession numbers and everything looking so good for Velarde, Ehlers, and Scheifele. Well, they've cooled down of late. And who scored the goals? Nino Niederreiter has 2. Alex Iafallo, Axel Jonsson-Fjällby, Dominic Toninato, Morgan Barron. These are the guys who are scoring for you. And it's a good thing. Adam Lowry, and of course that was his 100th goal in the NHL. So that's I think one of the things you just said was the depth. And that, to me, is what stands out from this last couple of games. 2 huge games. I mean, we talked about it yesterday on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. I mean, the Jets came into this weekend 8 points up on a hard-charging Minnesota, a Minnesota team that hadn't lost very much under new coach John Hines. They'd come into Winnipeg on a 4-game win streak. Now they're on a 2-game losing streak, and it's all courtesy of the Winnipeg Jets, who outscore them 7-4 in the 2 games. So it's just another testament to the way this hockey team has been playing of late.
Yeah, they ran into the wagon that is the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, they're 10-1-2 in the month of December. Like, this team is just rolling through teams. Their losses have come against bad teams, which is weird. Like I said, they lost to the Sharks that one time. They lost to the Blackhawks just on Wednesday, and then they come back with these 2 wins. I mean, it's really weird to see the Jets kind of play up and down to their competition, but when they play up, they play really high up because they blew out Boston at home. They just swept Minnesota back-to-back with goals from Toninato and a big game from Laurent Brossoit. This team is rolling. The December is maybe one of their best months, like as a team ever since they returned to Winnipeg. 10-1-2. That's really impressive. And they're getting it from everyone. Like you said, the top line isn't even rolling right now. I think their possession numbers have stayed kind of the same, but the goals aren't going in.
Yeah.
But the other lines are picking up the slack, so it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, no, there's no question about it. And I think Jets fans have a lot of reason to be happy because I think that the team, look, you knew that Minnesota was going to want to win it for Fleury. Marc-Andre Fleury is a very classy guy, and he's playing, it's amazing to think that his first NHL game came 20 years ago, in 2003. And so, he's playing in game 1000, and the players were respectful, and they went over and congratulated them. The fans in Winnipeg congratulated Marc-Andre Fleury when it was announced on the scoreboard that he played in his 999th game unexpectedly last night yesterday afternoon, I should say, in Winnipeg when he came in relief in the third period. But obviously we have to get a little bit of that game into today's game because before the game it was announced that Nick Petan, the free Nick Petan movement was realized as he was recalled from Iowa, and Zane McIntyre, who I think I saw our friend Brad Schlossman, who works for the Grand Forks Herald, wrote, I don't think he's played an NHL game since 2018-19, but Zane McIntyre came up from Iowa to back up because Gustafsson wasn't available because he was injured in yesterday's game. He played 2 periods in Winnipeg, but the more important one was Kirill Kaprizov, who of course was knocked out of the game by Brendan Dillon. And I'm not even joking. Like Drew and I were doing the post-game show. I hadn't even seen the hit really, so I didn't really know what was going on. And I honestly thought he just got killed based on kind of what I was hearing. And I saw it and I was like, yeah, it's a cross-check, but it didn't. It's kind of like a million cross-checks we see in the NHL.
How many times did that happen in this game? Like the game today was played so below the goal line, and there's players battling. They're doing those little cross-checks, and it's like it was so nondescript. Yeah, I totally agree. I didn't see it at first either. I watched the replay and I was kind of like, oh, that was it? That knocked him out? Clearly just caught him in a bad spot. But the whole Twitter reaction of it being dirty and come on.
Well, I jokingly tweeted that I think it's probably a good thing that the Jets and Wild do not play till February 20th because I think these fan bases need a break from each other because, and we'll get into it during the recap, when I saw what, the Cole Perfetti was, I saw the play when Hartman hit him in the face-off, and then it was like folks, and so I tweeted it and folks took my tweet and it was like an attack on every guy in the Minnesota media. And I was like, look, I'm just making an observation. That's what we do here. But again, like I said, plays happen. There's a lot of dirtiness sometimes, but it's almost as if, the fan base has acted like they've never seen a hit before. And somehow one team is particularly dirty and So I just thought that was
the dirtiest team in the league.
Yeah, exactly. So it's probably a good thing that, and the other thing I tweeted, which I think is probably a fair assessment, Connor, is that, now that the game has ended, both sets of fan bases who, because there were a lot of Jets fans, obviously in the XL Energy Center, I think are going to head down to US Bank, and then it's US Bank, right. I think, right? And go see the Vikings play. Who are they playing again tonight? They're playing
the Packers.
Right. So the only Jets fan who I know won't be celebrating for them is Sarah Lesky because she's a big Packers fan. But she's not a Jets fan. She works for the Jets, and I know I had some pushback from some folks who said they weren't Vikings fans, but I suspect there are a lot of Manitobans who support the Vikings. So the Wild Jets thing will subside, and then they'll all go cheer for the Vikings.
Right. Yes.
It should be interesting.
They do need a break from one another. I totally agree. And the Twitter mentions, people are going crazy. And then after last year, it was bound to bleed over into this year. I mean, last year was the pinnacle of that. I remember like the whole Rick Bowness thing that he did to Dean Evison, and then the Ehlers hit. Like those were two of my most engaged with tweets like I've ever posted. So that was bound to bleed over. There was going to be a play where people thought it was controversial and it was going to go nuts, and people are going to call each team the dirtiest team in the NHL. But at the end of the day, there was a hockey game to play here, and the Jets won, and the dirtiness wasn't really there. I mean, we can start with the fight right off the opening face-off, but outside of that, there wasn't really a dirty hit, or there wasn't another fight after that. So, it wasn't a dirty game by either side by my eyes.
Yeah, I agree with you, and we'll get into it when we kick off the recap itself. But there's no question about it. I think it kind of, you saw what Adam Lowry, the captain, went to Pat Maroon off the opening draw and essentially said, like, okay, like let's get my assessment was, let's get this out of the way So we don't have to deal with this throughout the course of the hockey game. We can actually play a hockey game because it's an important game. You know, the Minnesota Wild want to staunch the bleeding, and they know, and I've talked about this both on illegalcurve.com and on these various shows that we do here on this channel, but it's not just the Wild who are charging. Arizona, Nashville won again yesterday. So you've got Arizona and Nashville who are still sticking around. St. Louis isn't done either. So, you know, from the Jets perspective, and I just saw it in the chat, and sorry to the chat, because usually I'm more attentive to being able to bring your comments in when Drew and Ezzy are on the show. But today I'm hosting and Connor's a guest. So this is a little more focused, but we'll try and get all your comments in. But one of the comments I saw was the fact that the Jets now leap into first place in the Central, but more importantly, have games in hand on, not on Dallas, but they do have them on Colorado. So, you know, that's significant. And, you know, when Rick Bowness talks about, and the other thing we have to talk about, because it's remarkable and it doesn't seem to be getting a lot of mention, 25 straight games without allowing more than 3 goals in a hockey game.
Yeah.
That's absurd. And that speaks to what you mentioned earlier, was that Laurent Brossoit and Connor Hellebuck are playing phenomenal hockey right now.
Yeah, Connor Hellebuck, his stats in December are unbelievable. He's back as like a top 3 Vezina candidate, top 2 maybe, with Thatcher Demko in Vancouver. He's back to the level we're used to him seeing. And it goes back to that extension, him and Mark Scheifele, dual extensions. That was so huge for the franchise, and it's paying dividends right now. And then Laurent Brossoit, I said it before the season that you don't give a backup $1.7 million, especially with backups across the league. You see you're getting league minimum. Like Dave Riddick got $900K, who was the Jets backup last year, and then went to the AHL, and now he's up. But usually NHL teams are going and paying backups $900K so they can just, you know, have them fill in for a couple guys, give their starter a night off. But no, they gave Laurent Brossoit a $1.75 million contract. They need him to win big games, and that's what he did today. He was fantastic.
Yeah, and it's funny because the concern, of course, in the beginning of the season was the shakiness of the netminders. Maybe they were just not used to the Jets being a better defensive team and controlling the game a little bit more, and being just their 5-on-5 play being much better than it was. But you know, the folks who were expecting this team to kind of fall back into old habits, we're not seeing it. And even when the Jets are down in games, we're not seeing them out. You know, and it's been multiple games, whether they're, you know, you obviously if you're a Jets fan, you want to see them out ahead, but when they're down, they're not reverting to bad habits. They're kind of maintaining the structure that Rick Bowness and company have installed in them. And as a result, they're able to, you know, again, stick with the plan and come back and win games. And that's something that obviously is very important and has led to them being the number 1 team in the Central Division as 23 comes to an end.
Yeah, and to further your point, like the Jets were down 2-1 early in the third period in this game. And then within 3 minutes, they had the lead again. Like that's pushback that Rick Bowness probably liked. But it's nice to see from a Jets team. And people ask, you know, how's this team different from last year? That's one of the reasons. They're deeper. They have more, they play more consistently, and they have more pushback. And that's really where that starts and ends. And Hellebuck and Brossoit have been a big part of that. But the forward depth obviously came through in this one. They've been a big part of that as well. But they could have easily rolled over. Minnesota's been a good defensive team since John Hines joined. But no, they went and got 2 goals just like that, took the lead. And then the Jets with a lead, we know how good they are at suppressing chances against. They're one of the best teams in the league playing with a lead. So like you said, obviously you want to see them playing with a lead, but I think they're especially good playing with a lead, better than the league's elite around them.
Yeah. Now, Connor, you've got a request from James Robinson. He wants you to change your backdrop to the saxophone Squirtle. I don't know if that's possible. And it's funny because I don't want to admit, I was asking Connor, you know, like I was texting Connor when that whole saxophone Squirtle thing was going on. And I'm like, what am I missing here? What is going on? So Connor was nice enough to explain to me what saxophone Squirtle was, because I was a little out of the loop originally. I'm like, I could Google it, but I'm too lazy just to explain it to me. So Connor gave me the 411.
Yeah. When that whole thing started on Twitter, and then they said it was going to be like played at the next game, my hand was on my phone, like on the desk the whole time. I was waiting for it. And then it came up and I started videoing it. I was so ready. I was like, oh, people on Twitter are going to love this. And it's taken off. It's hilarious how it's turned into from like an internet meme to like a big thing online.
Yeah, but you know what? That's the fun of the game, and it's good on the Jets.
yeah.
And Quentin Robb specifically, who does that stuff
Yes.
for the Jets, he recognized the opportunity, and again, you get engagement. So that's one of the things that you want to see. Obviously, a sold out crowd yesterday, a fun environment. We weren't there, of course, but it was made for a good environment, and that's one of the things that I think folks are liking. Joe from Winnipeg asked. Sorry, go ahead.
Man. Okay. There was a fan actually with Go Jets Go and a photo of a saxophone Squirtle at the Minnesota game. They showed it on the broadcast. So it's international. It's traveling.
There you go.
There we go.
You're getting folks engaged. Just to answer Joe's question, no, it was not the Drew Mandel drunk experience. I think last year the final game of 23 was, well, I know it was Ezzy and I, because Ezzy wore the glasses that said Happy New Year's, but I'm pretty sure it was that late game against the Oilers, if I recall correctly. I think they played in Edmonton, because the Moose played an afternoon game, finished that responsibility, and then I came home, and I believe they played like an 8:00 start against Edmonton. So it was not the Drew Mandel solo experience. That's only happened one time, and we've shut it down, never happening again. This is, of course, is the Illegal Curve post-game show. You're listening to Dave Minuk. I'm in the hosting chair today. I'm joined by Connor Harabchuk, Winnipeg Sports Talk, my frequent partner in crime in the press box, sitting beside me. So he's joined me today to sit beside me to talk about today's Jets 3-2 win. We do this after every single Jets game, so make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribing to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, or our YouTube channel specifically, and then you can join us after every single Jets game. And it seems like, as Connor just detailed, in December at least, it was oftentimes you were joining us after a win more than a loss. So the Jets added to their wins today in Minnesota. They pick up a 3-2 victory. We will, of course, get into that with the Betway game recap. We do that each and every time the Jets and whichever opponent they're playing. Connor. I just call you Connor.
Whoa.
I'm sorry. I was doing see, this is the problem. Doing too many things, reading names. We're about to do it. Let's get into it. The Betway game recap.
The Betway game recap.
And before we even talk about a goal, we've got to talk about the Adam Lowry dropping the gloves with Pat Maroon, because look, some people think it's stupid. Some people think it's unnecessary. I mean, again, I'm of the opinion, and I understand it. This is my thought, and then I'll get your thoughts on it. And we can, of course, have the chat jump into as they like to do, jump in and let us know their thoughts as to what they thought about this situation. But to me, the idea is you just settle it. And it's two guys who, they weren't involved in the play specifically. And, we're talking about Kaprizov getting hurt, and Brendan Dillon, with Brendan Dillon. And of course, you'd say that Middleton and Dillon fighting would have ended it. But clearly, with Kaprizov not playing in today's game, there's still that bad blood. So Lowry speaks to Maroon. They drop the gloves 2 seconds into the game, and they deal with it. And the idea is, at least my perspective is, and we talked about this a little bit, is just there's a hockey game to be played, and it's an important 2 points, and we don't need stupid stuff that's going to happen. Potentially, you're trying to offset that. Now, we'll talk about it again. There was some stupid stuff that happened because Minnesota has some players that tend to play a little bit on the edge, if you will, and so that kind of thing still transpired, but it could have been a lot worse potentially if that didn't take place. So what are your thoughts on Lowry dropping the gloves with Maroon? Because, and just quickly, sorry, one last thing. If you notice, I'm not going to say it was a half-hearted fight, because they definitely dropped them and threw them. But even at the end, when Lowry got back up and they kind of got ready to chuck, Maroon kind of just backed off it, with a kind of said, didn't even need to be pulled away. Just kind of was like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. And it made it clear that they were just doing it just to settle it, just to get this over with. We know this is going to be a hard fought game. We know there's going to be fights. Let's just fight and get it over with. And yeah, I agree with what you said. A lot of people said they didn't like it. Two players uninvolved in the play. But like I said earlier, there's the Ryan Hartman play on Cole Perfetti, which we'll get into in a second. But I didn't think this game was overly dirty. There wasn't any dirty hits from behind per se. There weren't any fights. There weren't any majors handed out. And you could argue that fight kind of prevented anything dirty happening. It was just kind of, okay, we know emotions are high. We're just going to fight, get it over with. And then we're going to play hockey, because it's a huge 2 points that Minnesota needs to win. And they need to win their upcoming game, so they can't have a player getting suspended like a Ryan Hartman last year. But I think it worked for the purpose that they set out to do, which was settle whatever animosity there was from the Kaprizov thing. And let's not forget that Dylan answered for the Kaprizov thing in the game on Saturday. So they're uninvolved in the play, but Dylan already answered for it. This is Lowry saying, I'm the captain. I'm going up against Pat Maroon. We're just going to fight. We're going to settle this. We're going to get it over with. And then we can just play hockey. And they kept it relatively clean. I mean, the Hartman play definitely wasn't clean. But there was no, I was expecting, you see these two teams play, you're always expecting like some big hits from behind or a major penalty handed out or like multiple fights throughout the game, but there wasn't that. So I think it worked for the purpose they set out to do. And I didn't hate it.
Okay. Well, and the other thing the little bit of pregame stuff. What is going on? Why is there no pregame show? Am I missing something here? Because like I tweeted it out before and I'm thinking to myself, like, as much as I love our boy Jesse Pollock doing some sort of best something of the year, I just cannot get over the fact that there's not a Jets pregame show. Like I remember thinking to myself, like I was in Anaheim for a game and I think it was a game and the Ducks had a pregame show. And I thought to myself, why do the Jets not have a pregame show? Like, how am I missing something before every single game that there's not a pregame show? And I jokingly said, do folks want to see an Illegal Curve pregame show brought to you by Kron or Harabchuk? Because of course we couldn't all do it. We'd be murdered. But I'm not even joking. Like it seems crazy to me. Yeah. And sorry, I started the Betway game recap. That meant to be one of my preamble thoughts, Connor, was the fact that I just don't understand how there's not a pregame show. And again, you don't have to send them to Minnesota. You could do it out of Winnipeg. But I can't understand how there's not a 30-minute, like, especially with the nature of media changing. And there was nobody in Winnipeg nobody from the Winnipeg media, I should say, that was in attendance other than guys who work for the team. So the Jets pregame make an emergency. They put David Gustafson on IR. We should mention that, of course. That's retroactive to, I think, December 29th or December. No, it'd be earlier. Actually, it would be December whenever they play Boston.
He's already eligible to come off.
He's already eligible to come off, but they do that as a means of allowing them to have space. So then they make the emergency recall. Jeffrey VL, who, of course, everyone's seen my tweet of his fight with Alex Gallant when they fought I think it was in Calgary, which was one of the craziest fights I've ever seen. So they recall Jeffrey VL, and there's an opportunity for him. You don't know. And then, of course, that I will say
everyone goes nuts. Yeah.
I was going to say, Connor, we should probably mention that because it did rile things up. It didn't help that the Minnesota guys the Minnesota media were tweeting saying, oh, the Jets have called up their resident goon from the AHL. So that's inflamed things obviously significantly. And then, but the problem is, and the reason I'm bringing that up is because, well, one, it's pertinent, but two, we don't know what's happening. So line rushes are taking place and nobody's there. Like, and I understand, like from a economic perspective, to send guys on the road for a one and off isn't necessarily, has that necessary value versus them going on a 3-4 game road trip. And the Free Press is obviously the ones who are doing that. So I get it, but it's so at the same time, but you're sitting there and you don't have any idea what's going on. Nobody knows what's happening, and you have to wait until puck drop to see if VL gets in the lineup. So it's a little unfortunate in that regard that there's not something that's a little bit more informative for the fan base to give them some information in terms of like what's going on pregame. And like I said, like when Dan Robertson and Kevin Sawyer do that, it's good because at least you're getting some information that you wouldn't have, for the half an hour lead up. And the reality is, and I think I speak for most people, everybody's like available for the half an hour before the Jets game because they're all amped. They know they're going to watch the Jets game for the afternoon or the evening. So to me, a 30-minute pregame show, maybe it'll be on Illegal Curve for the 24-25 season. Who knows? I don't know. But I just think it's something that it just shows that the market is underserved. And I just think it's something that should be added.
And on Saturday, I totally agree with you, by the way. And on Saturday, it even said, like on at least on my cable viewing service, it said Winnipeg Jets pregame, and then you click on it, and it's the highlights of, or it's like the best 50 best moments of whatever. So I got all amped up for a pregame, get some, and then John Liu, that was the morning Kyle Connor skated. And John Liu tweeted out like, we'll have more information on our TSN show. So I was like, oh, Jets pregame. I want to tune in because I want to see what John Liu has to say about Kyle Connor. And then there just wasn't anything there. And then they said it on the broadcast, like middle of the first period, they gave an update on Kyle Connor. But Yeah, I totally agree with you. The market is absolutely underserved, and they're in dire need of a pregame show for sure.
Well, Minkus, which sounds a lot like Manuk with an S, is in a big heck yeah to an IC pregame show. So Connor, we might have to be recruiting you to lead that effort, and we'll see.
Might have to talk to Huss.
Well, Dark Moon is saying I can only handle so much, and I don't disagree with that statement. But maybe what we can do is we can bring Connor in if folks like Connor. I mean, we're gonna have to. This is your trial right now, so folks are. I want folks in the chat to give Connor a big thumbs up. We'll find out after. Maybe we should do a poll, Connor. The Connor poll.
Oh no!
But
don't do a poll. That could go bad.
Oh, Joe's asking if I want updates from the Moose game. Well, I guess the game's already on. Connor, see, we've already had so much fun. We're 25 minutes into it. We haven't even gotten started. And I'm already missing the Moose game. Look at that.
One fight.
Yeah, we've gone through one fight. And now, of course, so let's keep it rolling.
Yeah.
First face off for the Perfetti line. And he takes that high stick from Ryan Hartman. And again, things happen in the game. Things get missed. It's definitely, I had people trying to say it was an intended stick lift. I'm based on it being Ryan Hartman to think that it was probably a little bit intentional. But it was a rough first period, a good first period. And I liked that, Rick Bowness used Cole Perfetti because I thought he was really good. He relieved, it wasn't in the first period, but there was one shift where the Scheifele-Ehlers line was made two big mistakes, which could have ended up in the back of the net. I think it was 1-1 at that point. And Perfetti came on as a replacement for Velarde, and he got the puck, relieved the pressure. So I actually thought he had a really strong game today. But that first period was rough for him because he takes the Hartman shot in the face, and then he prevents a goal by getting back on that 3-on-1 and sliding into the net. But he looked like he was in a little pain there as well.
Yeah, and I think he just turned it out to be winded because that reaction, like he's kind of holding his ribs. I have no clue, but I thought he seriously got hurt because of the way he reacted. But then he stayed on the bench and he was out there the next shift. But yeah, Cole Perfetti, I thought he had a great game as well. But that face-off play. Yeah, you could call it like he's going for a stick lift. I agree with you where it's Ryan Hartman. So my mindset changes on that. If it was like Sebastian Aho or whatever, Joel Eriksson to stay on the same team, I wouldn't be as inclined to call that intentional, but it definitely caught him. He went straight to the bench, and I don't think linesmen can call a penalty on that. I could be corrected on that. I'm not sure if linesmen can call penalties on the like a high stick, but it happens on the faceoff dot. If that's not a rule, maybe it should be because the linesman is right there. He can see just fine. He probably saw Hartman get or Perfetti get hit right in the face. But definitely a missed call. It's blatant high sticking. But it happened so fast, and Perfetti's on the bench within seconds that I don't blame them really for missing it. But yeah, you hate to see that. And then Perfetti, like you said, slides into the net. A rough start and a physical start for Perfetti, not probably what he wanted.
You always wonder though, like you're thinking, okay, there's 4 officials on the ice and they're all watching the face-off. Yeah. So you've got to think that someone saw something. But yeah, I mean, again, like I said, it's one of those plays and it happens a lot in games and it doesn't get called and you live with it. You deal with that reality. And so the Jets dealt with that reality and it looked like they were going to be, they didn't take advantage of the power play. I thought what was your impressions of their power play? They had there weren't a ton of penalty calls in the game itself. Good friend Zach Bogosian, who was once a member of the Illegal Curve Movember team, believe it or not.
Wow.
Back in 2011-12, it was Zach Bogosian, Jim Slater, and I can't remember who the third guy was. Who was it? Oh, maybe Mark Stewart. I think it was Mark Stewart. Somehow there was some sort of cross promotion between Illegal Curve and the Jets. And we had a bunch of Jets who were on our Movember team. I don't exactly understand how that came to be, but it was not a pretty sight with my Movember. But anyways, regardless of that, Zach Bogosian, former Jet, who was of course passed in games by Brendan Dillon yesterday, as I mentioned on the show.
Right.
He takes the penalty and the Jets power play gets some work. They didn't score, but did you see anything on that power play that, led you to think things were improving in that area? Because of course, I think they were, what was they 3 for 30 coming into the game?
Yeah, I think I did see some things, especially yesterday. There was they went 0 for 4 and you can't really excuse that. But Velarde misses a wide open backdoor tap in, and they generated a lot, I thought. And Rick Bowness agreed with that statement in the post game. He said, I thought the power plays were good. We just didn't finish our chances. And generating something and not having it be a momentum killer is a win at this point for the Winnipeg Jets and their power play. So the first unit today, I thought really struggled with entering and like holding the zone, which has been a common theme. Yesterday they had Adam Lowry come in to take faceoffs because they've been losing a lot of faceoffs on the draw. I thought they were better on faceoffs today, but I still think that second unit is playing better than the top unit right now, especially with the man advantage. And I don't know. The top unit is generating and they're shooting the puck a lot, and that's clearly an emphasis, and that's a good thing because they're generating, something's happening, and they're not losing momentum because of it, but there's still something missing. I don't know if it's movement. I don't know. I don't really know what it is. I don't get paid to know what it is. But yeah, the second unit is clearly outplaying the top unit. And but I like the shot first mentality. Just throw every puck on net. Something's bound to happen.
Yeah, and I just, it's one of the things we talk about. Murat Atesh of The Athletic wrote a really good article about the Jets power play and the things that he was seeing that could be improved. And one of the things I thought they did a little bit better of was they weren't staying as married to their positioning, and they were moving their feet a little bit more. So I think that's probably a good sign. But yeah, again, like I said, there was still some stagnation that you don't like to see. And you want to see them, I agree, shoot the puck more and try and generate, because that's really, again, with the PP and the PK, those are the only areas that you have of complaint with this Jets team. 5-on-5, obviously not. And goaltending, obviously not. And those are obviously your more significant areas. But as we've talked about for quite some time throughout the course of this season, that's one area you have to improve. It's just got to get to the average. It doesn't have to be top 10. It just has to be in the top 15. And right now they were 23rd and 26th coming into yesterday's game. I don't know where they are as of right now. We can check, or maybe someone in the chat can share that with us. But the fact of the matter is that it's one of those areas that they need to shore up and they need to get better. And of course, we'll get into it when we get into the third period that they did improve on. But it looked like an interesting period because you didn't know, even like you said, or like we talked about, Lowry and Maroon kind of settled it, but it still felt like it was going to be a physical game. And Minnesota looked like they were bringing a lot of emotion, and there was a lot of emotion, right? Marc-Andre Fleury playing only the fourth goaltender in NHL history to play in 1,000 games. You knew they wanted to win this game for him, because it's one thing to play in that kind of game and it's emotional, and it's exciting, and your family's there, but it's another thing to lose that game or win it. And tie that positivity or negativity to that memory. And for the Wild, it looked like, for the first period at least, and they were out hitting the Jets, and I don't know where the hits finished out at, but like they were definitely out hitting the Jets significantly throughout the first and second periods. They didn't, and impressively in the third, I think the Jets possessed the puck significantly more. But the idea was that the Jets just weren't allowing it to change their games too much, but it just felt like the Wild kind of had that edge a little bit in that first period, playing with maybe a little more emotion than the Winnipeg was.
And I agree. I think the whole 20 minutes was like that too. I tweeted out that this is going to be a fast physical game, and Winnipeg did not look ready for it in the first period. They obviously changed that around in the second period. I thought they played a lot better than the third. We know what happened. They came back down 2-1. But that first period, I totally agree. It was fast, physical. Minnesota came out with a lot of emotion. There's probably a pregame ceremony for Marc-Andre Fleury. They probably honored him many times. I can't really blame the Jets for getting out physical in the first period when a team comes out with that much emotion. But their ability to bounce back was really impressive. But I agree with what you said about them getting kind of pushed around in that first period. And they ended the period 1-0, I believe, down to the Wild.
Yeah, and we'll get into that. For sure. And John Elliott, thank you very much. You points out that the Wild had 16 hits in that first period alone. And so, on one hand, you would say, well, that means they didn't have the puck if they were trying to lay the body. But at the same time, that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to set a tone. They were trying, and it was a good atmosphere. You got Jets fans in the building, and we talked about it. Jets fans, a lot of them were going to be seeing the Vikings game later. So you knew that it was going to have it always increases the atmosphere because it creates, you could hear the dueling chants a little bit. So that to me was something. And but again, the Wild looked like they get on the board first. They score, and who is it who scores? Ryan Hartman. So I thought to myself, that's the old literal insult to injury. He injures and then he insults. And so you're thinking, and it was a good shot, but I mean it was from fairly far away. So you're kind of thinking Laurent Brossoit probably should have had that goal. But Matty Prefontaine, the video guy for the Winnipeg Jets. He's quick to make a call down for them to challenge. Sure enough, they challenge, and very quickly. That might have been one of the quick. It's funny because recently there was one of the longest reviews of all time. This might have been one of the quickest reviews of all time and Hartman knew that he was offside. He basically said it on the they showed him on the broadcast, but he's offside, and you're wondering how is that going to change things. But I did think it was somewhat of karma that Hartman doesn't at least get a goal after injuring Cole Perfetti.
Yeah, I agree. I saw someone tweet that out. I'm not sure who it was, but I agree with that. I mean, he injured him. He got away with a penalty, and then goes and scores, but he gets called back. So he had a little glimmer of hope there that he was going to score, but he was definitely offside. I'm glad that it was a quick review, because on first replay, you're like, oh yeah, like that puck is on the blue line. That skate is in. It's clearly offside. There's no reason to look at 1,800 different angles and take 5 minutes and halt all like pace and momentum of the game. Which the NHL officials oftentimes do. Just keep it 20 seconds, boom, offside, let's keep going. And it was offside. Yeah.
And then the Wild, they didn't stop, though. Shortly thereafter, they kept it going. They win the faceoff, and faceoffs were not in the Jets' favor today. They were not particularly good. I think the Wild ended up winning 62% of the faceoffs overall in today's game, and folks can talk about the importance of it. But, in this instance, on the first goal, it was definitely important. The Wild win it. And then Spurgeon gets the puck to Spurgeon, who, of course, recognizes an opportunity, shoots it on net, and Marcus Foligno, with the redirect or the tip, he puts it past Laurent Brossoit to open up the scoring with 1:57 left in that first period.
Yeah, and it was a nice offensive zone like play from the Wild. Obviously, every team has a play that they run, whether they win it back to the right D or win it forward or win it to the left D. There's different plays that all these teams have installed. And it was clearly a play because he's walking the line, and Foligno is like the only guy kind of in the middle of the ice with his stick down, ready to deflect it. So he shoots it, deflects it, and Brossoit gets beat. And you can't really blame Brossoit. The Jets' defensive structure, maybe they could have tied up Foligno better. Or maybe they could have just won the faceoff, prevented it all, like you said. But I didn't hate this goal from Winnipeg's perspective. Brossoit maybe could have stuck out the pad, but it was a nice shot, nice deflection, and you just they were getting dominated, so you could see that coming for sure.
Yeah, you could feel the tide was turning a little bit for Minnesota, even though they knew they had that goal disallowed. And again, to me, the faceoff is critical. But Spurgeon, who he missed, I think, 7 games in a row, played his first game yesterday with a lower body injury, and he looked a little more comfortable throughout the course of this game. He's not a big guy, but he plays big. He had a couple good hits on Mark Scheifele. And 55 was definitely a target of the Wild. I don't think there's any question about that. They were trying to make his day uncomfortable, trying to get under his skin, I think. And look, they walk the line, they get the 1-0 lead, and it heads into the first period, and you're thinking, well, that was a pretty feisty period. How are the Jets going to respond? Well, they responded well, I thought. They responded very well in that to start that middle frame. And sure enough, 2 minutes and 8 seconds in, it's the captain. But it's not just about the captain, right? It's about the play in the Jets' end, right? Josh Morrissey takes a hit, gets the puck out. Then you've got Nino Niederreiter lugging the puck up like he usually does. So effective at that. Finds the dish, makes the dish, I should say. And then, of course, Mason Appleton, he gets the puck on net, and then Adam Lowry finishes it off for his 100th of his career. Just an interesting sort of, we talk about it, right? We've already mentioned the idea of depth, Connor, but like, to me, that's what you needed. You needed those guys to kind of bring, Adam Lowry already brought you into the fight. And I thought it was, I guess, fitting that he's the one who gets the goal after having to drop the gloves with Pat Maroon in the beginning of the game.
And he was one step closer to the Gordie Howe hat trick.
He was.
Right? So
he was.
But 100th career goal, and it was Murat Atesh who tweeted it during the game, but he was like, how else would Adam Lowry score his 100th career goal? Like a rebound in front, greasy, jam it in. Huge goal for the team after fighting in the first period. Like Adam Lowry and the captaincy naming before the season and what he's bringing to this team right now, and especially in this game, fast, physical, like we said. His importance can't go unnoticed, and it was a huge goal in the moment because, like we both said, Jets got dominated in the first period. So to be able to bounce back and get that first goal in the second and have an even slate and play from there was huge. 100th career goal. Props to him. And here's to 100 more. He's already 30, but we'll see.
I'm not so sure. It's not, goal scoring isn't his forte exactly. Although Mason Appleton, we should mention, that was his 13th assist of the season in game 35 for him. And so that is ties his career high for assists. He's on pace for around 30. And that would be rather significant. Again, we talk about contributions, and you want to get, it has to be up and down the lineup. If the first line isn't scoring, which they haven't been doing of late, well, guess what? You have the second, third, and fourth lines all scoring, and that's a significant advantage. And part of the reason why the Jets are, and Garrett Hole was talking about this, I saw on Twitter, the importance of offense versus defense. Mm-hmm. And, we say how important defensive hockey is, and the Jets are a testament to that. And one of the things I mentioned yesterday on Twitter, I thought was remarkable. The team only gave up 86 goals coming into today's game. 86 goals. The next closest team to them in the Central was Arizona at 99. After that, every single team, Colorado, Dallas, St. Louis, Nashville, Minnesota, has given up anywhere from like 106. I'm not going to mention Chicago because I think they've given up like 129 or something like that. But they've given up 20 more goals than the Winnipeg Jets. Same number of games. Now they're scoring a little bit more, not significantly more than the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah.
So that's a testament to the importance of defense, but ultimately you need to have offense. And part of that is having offense from all across the board, because if you're a one-trick pony and if you're only scoring because Mark Scheifele, Nikolai Ehlers, and Gabriel Velarde are bringing it every single night, that's not going to be good when those guys do what they're doing right now, which is going a little bit cold. And instead of, being able to rely on other lines, you're not able to. Well, what are the Jets doing right now? They're relying on other lines, and as a result, they're winning hockey games.
Yeah, and that third line, I mean, you bring up Mason Appleton being on pace for 30 assists. The first name that comes to my mind is Nino Niederreiter. Like, we've seen Lowry, Appleton, and then Phil, whoever you want in on the left wing. We've seen that in years past. Yeah. Those lines have sometimes struggled, and like they've gotten shelled in terms of shot possession, chances, expected goal share, things like that. But Nino Niederreiter has completely turned this line around. They're both a shutdown line and they're chipping in offensively. And it's huge for the depth we keep mentioning on the show. But that third line, they started the year really hot. They've been consistent ever since. And Lowry with a huge goal. Appleton's having a great year. And Nino Niederreiter already has 13 goals. He's on pace for like well over 20. He has kind of unlocked that line in a sense, and they're dominant. They're perfect for a game like this that we've said many times, fast and physical, and they were rewarded with a goal, and you can't really argue against it. They should have, and they had many other great shifts throughout the rest of the game.
Well, and they also hit a lot of posts. Brendan Dillon smoked the post. Dylan Samberg smoked the post. Well, he didn't smoke it. He hit the post. Brendan Dillon smoked the post. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is that, and I think I saw Mike McIntyre of the Winnipeg Free Press tweet, I think that's 8 posts in the last 3 games or something of that nature, because of course they hit a bunch of posts in Chicago. So we know that the Jets and the Posts have not been very good friends because they're a little too familiar with one another. But it's a 1-1 game after 40 minutes, and Again, it seems rather appropriate to me at least that, the one thing I liked was, at least I thought was going to happen, was that the refs were going to put away the whistles, because we didn't see, there was the one penalty in the second period, and it was a delay of game penalty, so you have to call that on Dakota M. Remus, which I always laugh at his name because I always think of Michael Remus whenever I see M. Remus, usually playing for the Iowa Wild. He's been recalled, and he's playing, of course, with the Minnesota Wild. But so there's only the one penalty. The Jets, of course, are unable to capitalize on that opportunity. Again, some good looks, but they just aren't able to finish. Marc-Andre Fleury, of course, is playing pretty well in net at that point. And I thought it was interesting because Minnesota's record, one of the things I thought when I looked at it was they're very good at home, and they're not great on the road. And while the Jets have been good both at home and on the road. So it was interesting to see our friends at Betway, who of course are sponsoring this show, they had the odds in favor of the home team, not the visitors. So I thought it'd be an interesting way to go. But the second period ends 1-1 after 40 minutes. And again, it's setting itself up for what I thought was going to be a really good third period.
Yeah, and I agree. And the Betway thing, the lines, they had Wild as a favorite. I can't even disagree with that, because when you play a team one night and then play them the next night, it's just too much kind of emotionally, especially when you're going on the road to play them that second night. and
Yeah.
they lost. It's a really impressive win when you look at the circumstances. And this whole year, Rick Bowness has talked about there's been no excuses. You know, they were down 2-0 to LA on the third game in 4 nights and second night of a back-to-back. They could have rolled over, but no, they scored 5 unanswered goals, came back and won. Tonight, or this afternoon, down 2-1 early in the third period. We'll get into that second goal in a second, but they push back and they win because there's no excuses in this team. They're fighting and they're proving that they're different from last year. Maybe last year's team would have rolled over. This year's team is different. And they've shown it many, many times so far this season.
Well, I mean, and it kind of ties in with Rick Bowness's, saying, solutions, not excuses.
Right. Yeah.
And that to me is what this team seems to be doing. They're coming up with the proper solutions to most of their issues. Again, power play being the number one issue, but for now they are seeming to, again, they're not, there's no really lamenting. Oh, we're down, like you don't see them hanging their heads. And again, part of that, I guess part of the fact that the testament to that is the fact that they're really not out of games, like even if they're down a goal, they're not going down. I mean, obviously they had a couple of 2-0, as you detailed in that one in Anaheim where they had 2-0 deficit as well. There have been some deficits, but generally not significant, nothing that's like overpowering that they need to overcome. So that's one of the things. So yeah, after 40 minutes, tied at 1 in St. Paul. You're listening to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Sorry, Connor. I'm Dave Manouk. He is Connor Harabchak. He is of Winnipeg Sports Talk, where you can catch the Hustler and Remus every day, Monday to Friday. Not this Monday, though. I think they're off this Monday, correct?
Off tomorrow. Yeah.
I should know because we had Hustler on yesterday on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, but the boys are on Monday to Friday from 1 till just usually around 3 o'clock. Sometimes they go a little bit long, and you can catch them on their YouTube channel, Winnipeg Sports Talk, for daily chatter. But of course, for the post-game chatter, you come here, or you come here first, then you go to Kenny and Rennie after, but that's where you need to be. You need to be subscribed. You need to smash that like button, of course. And that's what you have to do in order to be part. Well, you don't have to, but we appreciate it. That's kind of the nice thing you can do. All right. Getting into that third period, things were looking not so good for the Winnipeg Jets because 3 minutes and 56 seconds. Sorry, if I can read properly. Frederic Gaudreau. I'm never going to pronounce that right because he's from Quebec. So I'm probably mispronouncing it, butchering his name. But regardless, he gets the Wild into this lead with the power play goal, 2-1 for Minnesota. What did you think of the PK? Again, like it's an area of concern for the Jets. They'd done pretty well, right? They killed, I think, 1 minute and 56 seconds. A minute 56 of the power play had been killed. I think that was the Neil Pionk tripping one, if I recall correctly. Let me just check, be sure. Yeah, it was the Neil Pionk. They called it high sticking, which I thought it was a trip, but anyways, it was Neil Pionk in the box for high sticking, and then Gaudreau gets that one with as it wound down. So how did you see that? Did you like the way the Jets were configured, or did you see a problem in the structure?
I think the PK has been fine, especially as of late. This one I thought was okay as well. He had scored on with 4 seconds left. Brossoit's just late to the post on a save that he could have made. It's a tough one for sure. Like he shouldn't have made it, but he could have. And maybe Hellebuck does, but Hellebuck's not the best at moving side to side. He's best when he's calm. So that argument doesn't really hold any weight of, does Hellebuck save it? But the PK and its structure, it's been a concern, but it's flying under the radar because of the power play. And the power play, like you said, was 3 for 30 coming in today. They're losing games because of the power play, and they're 0 for 4. But Rick Bowness, after games, is talking about how their special teams is costing them games because the Jets will go 0 for 4 in the power play, and the other team will go 2 for 3 on their power plays, and that's where the difference is. But today, I wasn't overly impressed with the penalty kill, but I wasn't overly pessimistic about what happened. But I don't know how you saw it. What were your thoughts? Because the PK I thought was fine.
I'm the host of this show. Don't ask me my thoughts, Connor.
But then they give up the goal with 4 seconds left, and it goes down as an 0 for 1 on the penalty kill, right? So obviously you need results, and maybe you get that save from Brossoit, and we're talking differently about how the penalty kill played today, but I thought they were fine.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that there were obviously Minnesota didn't have much on many opportunities, of course.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that it's definitely, to me, it's a tough situation because you've already killed 95% of it, and you look like you have, and sure, I mean, if you want to nitpick, you can, right? Like you can nitpick on, I guess, like slightly on how it's played, but they really have their guys tied up. It's a lost battle behind the net, and then the one thing you'll give Minnesota credit for, quick. They don't sit on it too long, right? So they win the pack battle behind the Jets net, and then they get the puck over, and he blasts that one home. So, again, it just, to me, it was also more importantly to follow the reaction of the Jets and to see what they were going to do with Minnesota. And I actually thought that they, and although worth noting, Nick Patan, the secondary assist. So Nick Patan was free from Iowa, and suddenly you've got the free Patanman movement is happening, but he's doing it for the Minnesota Wild. So he gets a secondary assist there, and the Minnesota Wild have a 2-1 lead. It's going wild at XL Energy. Folks are excited. Folks are amped up. But the Jets, they're not planning on going anywhere because they shortly thereafter also get. And I didn't love all these penalties. Like I just thought that the game was a good game. I didn't think these were particularly good penalty calls. Like the tripping against, like they were fine. Like these ones were okay, like whatever. But it's just like you'd rather, like I thought in the first period the refs were going to start calling too much. These like the Velarde trip is a call. The Pionk, I don't know why they called it high stick because it looked like a trip to me. Those two were legit. I'm just saying, like in the first period, I was like, oh God, here we go again. It's gonna be another game where the refs are calling these unnecessary penalties. Just let the game play. But these ones were legit, and the Jets go to the power play. And who is it? But it's not the second line gets the start, which the second power play unit, sorry, I should say, not the second line. And it's Vlad Nemestikov. And importantly, what did the Jets do? It's interesting because you could argue that it was kind of a, not necessarily a face-off win because it was kind of like in the no man's land, but the Jets do some good work to retrieve the puck. And then Cole Perfetti puts it on Vlad Nemestikov's stick. And again, I don't know if Marc-Andre Fleury is anticipating a pass or if Vlad Nemestikov's shot's just like that good. But, you've got to give him credit. I mean, it's a rocket of a shot upstairs. And like he had time and space. I just didn't think that, it would be Fleury. I don't know what he was anticipating because like I said, like there's no, like he's got a clean shot at it. There's nobody really obstructing the lane from Nemestikov to Fleury. And yet Nemestikov doesn't find, again, not a ton of room. So I think got to give Vlad Nemestikov shot credit. That was a great shot, but it ties the game and it just seemed to swing the momentum into the Jets' favor.
And Vlad Nemestikov has been fantastic for the Jets this year. Everyone was saying when Velarde comes back, oh, Nemestikov's the guy that's going to slide down to the fourth line. Then you move Perfetti back to the middle, and he's just stayed on that second line. He's been consistent. He keeps scoring. And now he's a part of the better power play unit. Like, I didn't think I'd be saying this in the year 2023. It's not 24 yet, but Nemestikov, what a shot. That second unit, I think going forward might start and be like the first unit. Like Bonus might still call them the second unit maybe, but he might throw them out first more often than not. He already has been doing that since Niederreiter scored 2 against Boston.
Right.
He started throwing them out a bit more, but I think from here on out, I mean, the first unit, we said it, they're fine. They're generating chances, but the second unit, they score a big goal at a big moment like that. You can't really deny it. And Nemestikov has been great.
Well, and I got to give Vlad Nemestikov the
Seagram shot of the game.
Because there's no question about it. That was the shot of the game. Absolutely, our friends at Seagram's, we appreciate their support. Of course, Drew, Ezzy, and I love the Fireball. We're always talking about Fireball, but they've got a lot of other wonderful drinks that you can purchase at the local liquor commission. So legalcurve.com, we have all their ads. You can see them on there. And if you see anything you like, you click the ads, go to the LC, and you buy their product. Our thanks to our friends at Fireball. No, Seagram's, just kidding. Anyways, so we've got a 2-2 hockey game. Jets get a power play goal, so there's much rejoicing in Jets land. And you're thinking, well, how are they going to follow that up? And again, I thought that they built a lot of momentum from not just obviously the goal, but I thought that their play throughout had been much better. And I think they said it on the broadcast. I think the Jets had been out shooting Minnesota in the third period. It finished at 13-8, but I think it was like 9-2 at a certain point. Like you could just feel that the Jets were building a lot of momentum, despite the early goal by Goudreau. So suddenly it's 2-1, 2-2, and of course Dominic Toninato. And you know, Connor, one of the things I'm seeing from this fourth line, and I want to interrupt my own thoughts, just to mention, give an update for those who are paying attention. Brad Lambert, he scores a goal to tie the game. So the Manitoba Moose and the Texas Stars tied 1-1 in that first period. I'll be quickly changing out of my sweatsuit into my real suit after this game recap finishes, so I can get down there and hopefully get in the second and third periods. But and the fireworks that are coming, Connor. Apparently, there's going to be indoor fireworks in the place behind you.
I need a video of that. Yeah,
I will definitely be taking a video. I will definitely.
I can't wrap my head around. Like indoor, I've been in that building how many times? I can't imagine where they'll be. Whatever. So I need a video for sure.
Yeah, so I'm definitely gonna be taking a video of that. I'm gonna delay my making my way down to the post game interviews so I can film that, because I think that's gonna be rather interesting. But anyways, getting back to this game. So yeah, I thought the Jets were building momentum after that, after the goal to tie it on the power play, and then 3 minutes later on a delayed penalty call, Dominic Toninato. And we talk about the role players, and we've mentioned it already in terms of how many of these role players are scoring for Winnipeg and what they're able to do and all that stuff. But a lot of these guys are just playing with, it's not a fear. It's just a desire. You can see that they don't want to be sent down. They want to be up with the team. They want to show that, again, they're able to do more than just one thing. And so you've got these guys working hard, and, Toninato on a delayed penalty call could have gone off the ice, right? But instead he stays on there. He goes right to the front of the net. He's creating some havoc in front. Brendan Dillon fires a shot on net, and you've got Toninato who cleans up. He gets hit with the puck and then chips it up and over Marc-Andre Fleury. And you can just see the Jets bench, the guys on the ice, they erupt because they know how significant it is now that they've got that 3-2 lead.
Yeah, and huge goal and a huge moment. Not a power play goal because it was delayed penalty, like you said. Very close to one, but Dominic Toninato, first of the year on New Year's Eve, ends up being the game winner in his home state, I believe, right? He is a Minnesotan.
Yeah, Duluth, Minnesota.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, that's the script right there. That's the NHL writing the script. But no, what a greasy goal in a big moment. And yeah, like you said, I thought the Jets had all the momentum at this moment. And yeah, great effort from the fourth line as of late. Obviously, Morgan Barron scores against Chicago. Axel Jonsson-Fjällby scores yesterday, and then Toninato scores today. The fourth line is chipping in depth, and I agree with what you said. This line is playing for their jobs. They don't want to be sent back down. Maybe not Morgan Barron in a sense, but definitely the other two. And they've been fantastic. Jonsson-Fjällby's been a forechecker. It's exactly what you want from him. And Toninato's been a face-off guy. He's even chipping in on the score sheet now. He's been a good forechecker as well. And that fourth line's bringing a lot of energy. And most importantly, they're giving the other three lines a breather and not losing those minutes in the process. So they've been great. Great goal, big moment. Must feel amazing for Toninato to score in his home state.
Sorry, I'm fighting through the coughs here, Connor, because as you know, you're not the only one who's on the IR. I am as well. But yes. T. Conapoli wants to know if they get a 20% off coupon at Minuk Dental with a illegal curve coupon. I haven't worked that out with those guys. If they want to jump in on that, maybe we'll talk about that. But again, I think you illustrate a really important point. I think that the years past, this fourth line didn't necessarily get scored against, but they didn't contribute. Right. We talked about it yesterday on the show, both on the Saturday show and on the postgame show. I'm jealous you have a drink. I forgot one, even though you and I talked about this before before I hit go on this broadcast. Yeah. But no, I think that the the Sacramento Lions and Kevin Stanley, who contributed a little bit, you had guys who kind of treaded water. They weren't necessarily hurting you defensively, but they weren't providing offense. And now you've got a fourth line, and Dave Gustafson already has 2 goals this year. You've got guys who are scoring a little bit more, and that's again, it just speaks to the depth, and that's the importance of it. So the Jets now 3-2, and it's setting itself up for a really heck of a good ending, and it was fun right down to the end. But in the end, it's the Jets who win that hockey game. They sweep the Minnesota Wild. They are 22-9-4 on the season. They're 10-1-2 in December. 25 games in a row, giving up 3 or fewer goals. And Connor, they're 10-3-1 against the Central Division. So the Wild, by the way, who came into yesterday's game, I think they were 3-2, which they obviously, if you can do math, it's only 5 games, and now they're 3-4. But like, it's very interesting that they've played so few games against the Central Division. So we'll see how they fare against the Colorados and the Dallases and the other teams that are all challenging. But kind of a big blow to Minnesota and a huge sweep for Winnipeg to end the 2023 calendar year with a pair of wins to cap off an unbelievable December and end in first place in the Central.
Yeah, and before I comment on that, I want to talk about the end of the game there. With about 8 seconds to go, the Wild attempt to take 3 shots from the point. And I think Toninato blocks the first one. Yeah. And then like Dylan and then Pionk. I think like it was blocked. And then the buzzer sounded. It was Rick Bowness must have loved that. It was fun to watch. I mean, these players are putting their bodies on the line. They know how much that game meant. Keeping that puck out of the net with like under 5 seconds to go is great showing of effort. But yeah, this team is rolling. I said it at the start of the program. The Wild ran into the wagon that is the Winnipeg Jets. Like you said, 10-1-2 in December. A lot of those wins, like they beat Colorado twice. They beat Boston. They beat LA. They beat Minnesota twice on a back-to-back. Like a lot of impressive wins. And they're beating playoff teams. And that's all you can really ask for them going into the new year. Maybe they make a trade deadline acquisition. Maybe they don't. But as of right now, they're rolling.
They are rolling, and we are going to roll into the commercials. That ends the Betway game recap. We thank our friends at Betway for that. We're going to head to commercial break. When we come back, we'll offer up some final 2023 thoughts, and then Dave M is going to head to the Moose game. Connor is going to enjoy some time off before whatever. Maybe he'll let us know what he's doing for New Year's. But for now, we'll head into the commercial break. This is the Illegal Curve post-game show. Make sure you're subscribing, and make sure you smash that like button for Dave M. Thanks very much. We'll be right back.
Your coworkers love you because you always make them laugh. You're the life of the party with stories that have them rolling on the floor. Or maybe you're just the quiet one in the corner with the one-liners that just slay. Do you have what it takes to become Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job? Try your luck. Hit the stage at Rumors Comedy Club, and you could be walking away with $1,000 cash. Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job. Presented by Rumors. For all the details, head to rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
The game can change just like that. Accidents happen when you aren't protected. So now what? Getting to your injury quickly can make all the difference. Help prevent them from being game changers with Linden Market Dental Center. Bonding, crowns, bridges, and dental implants. State-of-the-art treatments are available to help you get back in the game. To learn more, visit lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Boston Pizza harnessed Fanalytics to test if the game is better at home or at Boston Pizza. The results are irrefutable. Catch the game at Boston Pizza, powered by Fanalytics.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve hockey show. Work to live, Live to play. Visit toughduck.com.
Welcome back to the final segment of the 2023 calendar year. This is the Illegal Curve post-game show. A little different. I'm Dave Manouk. He's Connor Harabchuk of Winnipeg Sports Talk. He's on IR or coming off IR. I'm a little bit on IR, but coming off IR. Yeah. Nice Brad Lambert goal to talk about for the Manitoba Moose on the power play, a little one-time action. Jets fans are familiar seeing Finnish guys on the power play score on the one-timer. So I'm not suggesting that he should be a solution this year for the Jets, but that could be something for the future, a little future casting for them. But look, it's been a good 2023, of course, Connor. The Jets ended in good fashion with the sweep of the Minnesota Wild. Any final thoughts from the game itself, or just some overall thoughts from the Jets this season and your coverage of the Jets this season?
Yeah, I mean, the coverage has been a dream come true. It's been so much fun to cover the team and be up there in the press box and in the room after and all those things.
And to sit beside me.
And to sit beside you. It's been a dream, Dave. It's been a dream. No, but it's the 2023. It's hard to not start that conversation with Kevin Cheveldayoff. Mm-hmm. I mean, he trades for Nino Niederreiter, extends him. Trades for Vladislav Nemestikov, extends him. Dual signings of Mark Scheifele and Connor Hellebuyck, $8.5 million per for 7 years. And then he trades Pierre-Luc Dubois, a top line at the time, center, for Gabe Vilardi, Alex Iafallo, Kapari, and a second-round pick, which has turned out great for Winnipeg. It's contributed to the depth that we've talked about tirelessly on this show. Mm-hmm. It's been kind of the year of Chevy, and it's hard to argue against that because he's made so many good moves. A lot of people, including myself, thought they were going to have to blow it up with Hellebuyck and Scheifele, expiring contracts. And I was thinking back to myself the other day, like, imagine if they hadn't signed those dual contracts. Where would we be right now? If the Jets were playing exactly the way, like everything else was the same, except those players were still both on expiring contracts, would we be talking about how they're going to have to trade them despite being number one in their division? Yeah. All that went out the window. Niederreiter even talked about it when he signed. He said, Connor Hellebuyck and Mark Scheifele signing convinced me that this team wants to win, convinced me to come back. It's been the year of Chevy, and it's been fantastic for the Jets so far. They're number one in their division heading into the new year. What can you say?
And Joe from Winnipeg reminds you and reminds all of us, let's not forget the buyout of Blake Wheeler. That was huge for this team. Yeah, you're right. No, you're absolutely right, Connor. And you've been a welcome addition. I have to tell you, you're a real good young professional guy who's a welcome addition in my mind to the Winnipeg media market. So I'm happy to have you. And I know the guys at Winnipeg Sports Talk are happy to have you. And I think, hopefully you'll be joining us in the future on more Illegal Curve, whether post-game show, hockey shows, or whatever it is
let's do it. Yeah.
To discuss the Jets and discuss the Moose. If you haven't forgotten your roots, it's always important to remember your roots, Connor. You never want to forget your roots. And so I'll hold that to you. I'll hold you against you if you don't remember that. Of course, some of us are going to be trading this for a suit. Well, I mean, I don't know what I'm going to be wearing. I'm in sweatpants right now. It might be a little difficult to convince me to
freeze in the third period with sweats on. Like, I don't know. Like,
well, we'll see about that. We'll see about that. But look, it's been a really good year. And I'm gonna before we go though, before I give my little long soliloquy, of course, we've got some other stuff. I've got to give the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
The Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
Well, we've been talking about depth, so I'm giving it to a guy who mentioned the depth and talked about the depth. That's Brendan Matheson. Brendan says, Tony and the fourth line have had a big piece of the team getting points. 5 points in the last three, a goal from each of Barron, AJF, and Tony. And, you can't disagree with that comment because it's what we've been talking about. The importance of depth in the organization and the ability to just kind of add a piece and not miss a beat. And that's what the fourth line has been able to do. And it's been able to show that it's an effective fourth line, regardless of who's on it, because they all fit that same mold and they all adapt themselves to whatever that line needs. And so, you've seen it from guys like Axel Jonsson-Fjällby and Dominic Toninato. When they get the call, we see it from David Gustafsson. These guys are doing what it takes to be a part of this team. And so, Brendan, send me an email, dave@illegalcurve.com, or slide into my DMs, I see Dave, and we will get you hooked up with, just send me your address, your mailing address, and we'll get you a Tough Duck tube from our friends at Tough Duck. Because again, it hasn't been a particularly cold 2023, and we're not upset about that. We don't want to jinx ourselves for 2024, but you will eventually need that Tough Duck toque to when things start to get a little chillier here in Manitoba. So congrats to Brendan.
Yeah, and his comment was spot on. I mean, that fourth line's been fantastic, and the Jets have good options coming back soon. Like Gustafsson, like we said, already eligible to come off of IR. Rick Bowness said he was hopeful to play Saturday, so it's not a long-term thing with Gustafsson.
Yep.
Rasmus Kapari, he's coming back soon. I don't know if he's shed his non-contact jersey yet, or
not yet.
No, but he's skating with the non-contact jersey.
Rick Bowness did say that he's hopeful that he'll come back and play in so not for the Tampa game, which is on Tuesday, but for the that road trip when they go to Anaheim, where they play Anaheim, San Jose, and Arizona.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, they have options coming back, right? And what do? As of right now, you keep those guys in the lineup. They've earned it. They're earning their jobs. They're earning their pay on that fourth line. But if one of them starts to slip, you've got good options to come right back in. And if there's an injury, knock on wood, but you got good options, organizational depth. We've talked about it. The Jets have it.
Well, yeah, and that's absolutely the key is the fact that they've got those guys who can fill in and again, up and down, and eventually you're going to get it back from, the guys who are, like the Velardis and all those guys. They're going to go into these sort of situations where they're not producing to the same degree as they were, at that torrid pace, but that's somewhat to be expected. And like I said, when you get guys like Iafallo and Niederreiter and Lowry and everybody else getting those goals, you can afford to kind of take a step back. Well, like I said, I just want to end 23 by thanking Connor for joining us on this broadcast and thanking all of you for downloading the podcast and listening, joining us live each and every time the Legal Curve Hockey Show or the Legal Curve post-game show goes live. We really appreciate it. We wouldn't be around if it wasn't for all of you. So thank you very much for all of the things that the folks do, because I got to tell you, the chat is what makes the show. And we've been doing, we're coming in February. It'll be the 15th year of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. The illegalcurve.com has been around for 17 years, but it's because of all of you. And it's because you guys come to the website every single day, and it's multiple times a day, I should mention, and, come and download our shows and listen all the time. So if it wasn't for all the people who listen and contribute, we wouldn't be around. And of course, our sponsors, and Frosty Winnipeg has already got it up, Connor. So I'm going to give a thank you to our sponsors, because of course, without them, we wouldn't have a show necessarily, in addition to all of you. So a big thank you to all the sponsors of Illegal Curve who make the post-game show, the Saturday show, and the website a possibility. They are Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Rob Babenek. I don't think I'm going to pronounce that properly, but we'll see. Linden Market Dental Center. See, that's when Drew's better, because Drew knows that kind of stuff. Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, and Farmery Beer. Farmery Beer, of course, home of IC Beer. Connor, we can get you some of that. You're old enough to drink it, so we can get you some of that. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Whew. Well, I mean, it may be the end of 2023, but this is just the end of the 35th Illegal Curve post-game show, Connor, which means, and I'm not going to do the math because I'm too lazy right now, but there are still 57. Is that 57? No, or 47. No, 47. Yeah. 47. Sorry, I did some quick math there. 47 Illegal Curve post-game shows plus playoffs, because I think the Jets are, fair to say, a lock for that. So there will be a lot of that. Just make sure you are joining us after each and every game here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, the Illegal Curve post-game show, or, maybe it's a Moose special. And speaking of the Moose, I got to end this show because I've got to get to Canada Life Center, the place right behind Connor, and make sure that I'm covering the Moose for at least maybe this mid part of the second. I thought I was going to be there for the second. We went a little long. We were having a lot of fun. I want to wish everyone a happy and healthy 2024. Hope you have a good night tonight. Everyone be safe and smart out there. And thank you very much for joining us here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. I'm Dave Minuk. He's Connor Harabchuk of the Winnipeg Sports Talk. And we will be joining you again on Tuesday night when the Jets take on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Of course, illegalcurve.com. Despite everyone else taking a day off, Connor, we will not be. We'll be up with the morning papers tomorrow. Of course, the Jets recap is on the website already. Moose recap will be on the website later. And of course, like I said, the morning paper is fresh for you at 7 o'clock with all the latest Jets news. So on behalf of myself, on behalf of Drew, on behalf of Ezra, and of course, on behalf of Connor, I wish everyone a happy new year, a good night, and we will talk to you on Tuesday night for another Illegal Curve post-game show.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow at Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.